everybody. Happy summer spectacular. I hope you're having a great job on the Dice Tower channel. We are here to bring you our top 3 chill games or games to cool down the night with. We thought kind of the opposite of the summer here. You're going to need your glass of lemonade and your relaxing air conditioning in the evening. My name is the Brandt. I am a longtime member of the Dice Tower Network with the Portal Gaming Podcast and our YouTube channel, Step Into the Portal. And this is my cat, Emily, who's going to join us. And with me as well is...
I'm Ambie. I'm also a longtime member of the Dice Tower Network with Board Game Blitz and contributor to Board Game Breakfast and Dice Tower stuff. And also...
My name is Anthony. I am a fledgling member of Board Game Breakfast, and I have a very small YouTube channel, Board Game Dads, where we talk about being dads, playing games, and some different games to play for random holidays. So check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, so for my games, I tried to pick kind of like that cool down strategy game, like cool down family game, and just that like totally chill game, like no rules, real simple. Those were kind of my ideas. What were you guys thinking when you picked yours?
For me, I was looking around at my shelf and realized that I don't have that many games that are like not stressful, because a lot of games I like are stressful. So I was thinking like, what games do I like playing when I'm tired at the end of a night? So then I found 3 of them and that's how I did it.
You picked a very light 18xx.
I basically looked at games that had, kind of like Ambie said, not a lot of rules to them, maybe 1 or 2 at the most. And I tried to pick games that, have something familiar to them so that the learning curve was pretty slim.
Well, let's jump into our list. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll kick us off. So my number 3 game is also probably my favorite game from 2020. And this really kind of goes along with 2020. So in 2020, we had the owner of our store, The Portal. Him and his wife were living with us, and we'd kind of get the kids off to bed. And, of course, we're all home. And so we played through The Crew from Cosmos and Thomas Singh. And we played through the whole thing. I think we played 99 hands to beat the 50 missions. Now, The Crew definitely, if you don't know trick-taking games, it wouldn't be light. It wouldn't be simple in terms of like, oh, there's just a couple rules. But if you do know trick-taking games, which we all did, then it was just a very light, and we just had a great time. I mean, we would literally pick this up at 10 o'clock at night. Everybody want to play? Yeah. And we'd play 10 to 11, on a night till we played through the whole thing. And it was just great. So I think that's always been a fun game to kind of chill out with. Even playing the early ones with people who've never played before, they're really simple. So you could just be like, oh, we're just learning trick taking, we're learning how to play this game, we're actually replaying through it now with our daughter. So my number 3 is The Crew.
Nice. We've actually been doing that as our main event recently, so it's not on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard only good things about this game. A good friend of mine said that he also used it to teach trick-taking, in general to a few people. And like I said, I've only heard good things. So it's definitely on my to-play list.
All right. My number 3 is an older game. It's called Cheeky Monkey. It's a press your luck game where you're drawing little animal tokens out of a bag. And if you draw 2 of the same, then you have to put them all back in. But otherwise, you can keep drawing until you decide to stop. And if you ever draw a monkey, you can trade it with someone else. Because at the end of your turn, you stack up your animals, and then those are saved until your next turn. But the one on top can be stolen by other people if they draw the same animal, or if they have a monkey, they can trade it with you. So it's pretty simple to play. We played it with little kids and stuff, and it's just funny. Lots of times press for your luck is stressful for me, but this one I just don't take as seriously for some reason. Maybe because it's just a bunch of animals, and the copy we have is actually in a stuffed monkey. The box is not a box, it's a monkey. So yeah, it's kind of a game later. It's the kind of game that you don't really take too seriously.
All right, so I kind of just switched mine around at the last minute because you mentioned The Crew as a trick-taking game. So I do have a trick-taking game on my list, and that is the Dwarf King. This one's from Yellow. I just taught this to my wife and my in-laws a few nights ago, and it was super easy to teach. Again, if anybody has any familiarity at all with trick-taking games like spades or hearts or things like that, this is an easy one to teach because it's basically the same mechanisms. There's even less suits. There's only 3 suits in the game as opposed to a regular deck of cards. But the cool thing about it is there's a different scoring condition on every hand, and you always have the choice of 2 things. So you'll pick a tile. It'll say something like you're going to get 5 points if you get exactly 3 tricks this round, and the flip of that is you'll get 3 points if you get exactly 1 trick or something like that. So everyone's trying to do something different each round. It's not always about taking as many tricks as possible. It's fast. They recommend playing over 7 rounds, but to your guys' point about having sort of being able to scale these games a little bit, you can play just a shorter number of rounds. Really, there's no harm in that.
Nice. Yeah, I've played that one. That is pretty relaxing. Again, it's in that trick taking category, but those, I know for me, I grew up playing trick-taking games, so it's just kind of already natural. So then it's like you're just adding this other piece, like, ooh, what's different here? So it is relaxing because you're used to doing that. And it's kind of the repetition, too, is a good part of it.
Yeah, and it's funny. I taught this actually to a group of middle schoolers a few years ago. I used to have a board game after school club, and they not only picked it up really fast, but it was the hot game for many weeks in a row. And again, I think it was that even though they're younger, they probably learned those games from their parents or grandparents, right? And I think that's really cool because that continues to keep that bridge open into the modern hobby, and that's great.
All right, my number 2 is a really awesome game. It is absolutely gorgeous artwork. It's cute, I think is what it really is, and it's the Tea Dragon Society from Renegade Games. It's an awesome family game. It is an intro deck builder. It's a deck builder. You don't even have a hand. So you have a deck of cards, you flip over a card and put it face up on the table in front of you. And then, then you're allowed to, actually, I think you can either flip a card or you can purchase a card from the center. And so you're just getting leaves, which are your currency, to buy the various cards that are out on the table. And there's cards that you can kind of add to your deck. And you add everything to your deck, but there's kind of like cards that give you more tea currency or abilities. And then there's the cards that give you kind of the scoring cards. If you think Dominion, there's kind of all the little piles, and then there's, the duchies and the provinces or whatever. And you play through 4 seasons. I think it's all 4 seasons. And then you see who scored the most points by taking your deck apart. But it's really relaxing. The art is gorgeous. It's adorable little dragons, and you get to be dragons that are named after tea. So you can be, chamomile or whatever, and all these gorgeous things, cute things. And it's a super fun game. So it's Tea Dragon Society, super relaxing deck builder, probably like the lightest deck builder that's out there. But it's really fun and strategic too. Like you're making good choices in terms of all that. It's not just, this happened, this happened. Really fun. Have either of you played it?
I have not. Have you played this while drinking tea at a real tea party? No comments? All right.
I don't think I have. Not enough room. Or is it plenty of room? I can't remember which the comment is from the Mad Hatter.
It's probably both at some point. I forget.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. That's my number 2, Tea Dragon Society.
Cool. My number 2 is Wavelength, which is a party game. It's a team game or cooperative game, depending on how you want to play it. But I think for the chill version, I think cooperative game is how I would like it. But basically, one person has there's this dial thing, and you're trying to get someone to guess. There's a spectrum, and then somewhere that you're supposed to guess on the spectrum, like hot and cold or something, and then you're supposed to guess here, which is this much cold versus hot, and then you have to give a word or a clue to get the other people to dial into there. And so it's a similar type of feeling to Code Names, but we've been playing it recently, and it's just a lot of fun, having the different thoughts that people think, because someone might think something's more extreme, but then other people are like, oh, but it's not like this, and then it's like, oh, I didn't even think of that when I gave the clue. And so it's just interesting seeing everyone's ideas of like what's extreme on one side and what's extreme on the other side and stuff. And then like if something's in the middle, then that's always really hard to do. um,
Yeah,
but
this
yeah,
one
so
leads to a lot of interesting discussions afterwards.
yeah,
Like how do you qualify this as, a sandwich and this is not? And it's like,
yeah.
which is cool because the game then adds that second level. You have almost as much
Mhm.
fun debating things afterwards as you do actually playing the game. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You get to learn a lot about people. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's fun to cool down, like just be a more social activity at night. I think
right,
that's
right, right.
wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat when those games bring in that like almost, I don't know, psychological might be too strong, but
Mhm.
that kind of element of like, oh, I've got to read the other player's mind,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Kind of get that understanding, and it gives you that other layer,
Mhm.
which can be really fun.
Cool. All right. So my number two is definitely the longest game on my list, I think, but it depends on how many people are playing. It is a very chill game. In fact, the first time I ever heard of it, and I feel like every time afterwards it was ever brought up in any kind of media that I was listening to at the time, it was described as this very zen, chill, relaxing game, and that's Tokaido,
Mm.
where you're going on this 4-day journey. Essentially, you're stopping at all these different places in a bunch of different ways to get points. You can donate money to a temple. You can meet strangers along the way. You can buy goods at like a merchant shop, gift shop thing. You can go take a bath with some monkeys and you get extra points for that. But basically, there's always something you can do on your turn, right? You sure there's times where someone might go to a spot that maybe you had planned on going, but you're never going to get punished for going to a spot, and you're always going to be gaining something, whether it's some money or some food or part of the paintings that you're trying to create, the panoramas. And it's got a very chill look to it. It's a nice white board with some really beautiful artwork on it. And I mean, I guess it has the most rules out of the three that I brought up, but they're not that complicated. And it's a light game. I just actually looked it up on BGG before we started, and it's a 1.74 on the complexity scale there. So under 2. So there you go. Chill enough, I think. That's the chill meter.
Meter.
Chillometer.
There you
We're
go.
coining that here. Coining the chillometer. No, that's a great game. When you said that, I thought of that because even though, like you said, there's a bunch of rules because all the spots have different rules. It's the kind of game where you like you don't even need to explain the rules. You're like, when you get to a spot, I'll tell you what happens there,
Yeah,
right? Like you
yeah.
could just kind of learn that way, or oh, I don't remember. I know we've played this before, but what happens if I go, oh, if you go to the temple, blah 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 blah. Like you're just having the fun of the different spots and eating the sushi, right?
And the characters have different abilities, which is cool. So even if you are a new player or you're introducing this to someone for the first time, they have that sort of a little bit of a direction, like, oh, my characters gets cheaper food or whatever. I want to make sure I get to the inn, or they collect. I forget. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. It's pretty cool, and I think there's an expansion as well, which I do not have.
Nice. All right, we get to our number ones. So my number one is definitely like my most relaxing game. Now, I am a teacher, so maybe because I'm in education, when I'm relaxing, I also like to learn a little something. But the most chill game to me to play is Timeline. So it's a little game where you set up, you take a card, an event, and there's music and cinema, American history, world history. You can even there's Timeline. There's also a different card line which has like dinosaurs and animals and cities, with populations and carbon footprints of cities and all sorts of. I think it's actually countries in terms of all that. And there's just all sorts of interesting things. But I really like the kind of the movie one tends to be really good. And so you take an event, you flip it over, and you say, okay, this movie happened in 1946, and then I have a hand of cards, and I say, well, I think this one happened after that, and then I flip it over and see if I was right or wrong. And as you add more cards, it gets more complex because you're adding more things to the timeline, and people have to figure out. But what I love too is, it's a competitive game. You're trying to run out of cards, but inevitably everybody starts joining the conversation of like, oh, I don't think so. I think that movie, I think I was in high school when that movie came, and everybody starts doing that kind of thing, right? Oh no, I clearly remember being in middle school at my friend's birthday party when we went to see that movie or whatever. And you kind of get all that fun and enjoy, and it happens every time we play it. And then somebody comes, oh, can I jump? Oh yeah, let's shuffle up, let's play again, or whatever. It's just really relaxing, and you're learning things along the way, which is actually why I like to have the different versions, because if I start to memorize them all, it's not really fun to me. I don't really necessarily want to be right. Like I just want to try to figure out what do I think these are. So I really like Timeline. I think it's really relaxing, and it basically has no rules. It's just put a card where you think it goes. I mean,
that's funny. Timeline is actually kind of stressful for me.
Yeah, like I said, I like learning if I'm wrong. Like I feel like, oh, okay, I'm gonna remember that factoid.
I guess it depends on which version too, right? Because there's there's a whole bunch. I think I have two. What do I have? I have the Americana one and then Inventions, which I think might have some crossover with
the Invention one is brutal.
Yeah,
I think that's the only one I've played.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's definitely stressful because it's just like I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right, so my number one was like the first thing I thought of to put on the list, but other people have said that it's not chill for them. So, but my number one is Concept, which is a Pictionary, but with concepts. There's a board. There's a board of a lot of different images on there that represent different things like animals or books or something, or like different ideas. And so you put little cubes on the images to try to convey the concept of what you're trying to get people to guess. And I've never actually played with score. I guess there's like a way to keep score and stuff, but we usually just play like rotating the person, giving the clues, and then everyone's guessing. And then it's just like you play until you're tired or people can come in and out and stuff. I've played this a lot at conventions late night. So that was like cooling down at the end of a convention when you're all tired. So yeah, it's really fun. And then also we play like if someone is having trouble getting the people to guess, then someone else can come help them.
That's great. Nice.
But yeah, sometimes the things are really hard, and it's like it's really impressive when we can get people to guess, or like if we don't guess, then like, oh, why didn't you do this? Like yeah, but I like those team guessing games, and so this is like fun for me. Concept.
Yeah, that's a great one for sure. It's a chill game if you don't have to keep score. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's true. There's a few games like that. I mean, just one came to mind as well. You don't have to play that. The 13 cards they tell you to set up.
Oh yeah,
who cares? You just go through the deck. But yeah, Concept is another good one that leads to some conversation afterwards, which is fun, like you said, because you're not really supposed to talk while you're doing the clues, right? So you're like, you get that cube and you're like banging it emphatically on this red color. You're like, you're missing my point.
I feel like when we play Concept, we always add in charades. It's like, yeah. That's what we always end up doing. It's like, well, it's charades in Concept.
I agree. All right. Last pick for me, my number one. I had to get a roll and write or flip and write on there. And so I went with Trails of Tucana. I think it hits the summer vibe a little bit because it is kind of an island type thing. This is really a simple little map made of a bunch of little hexes. And again, very little rules here. You simply flip over 2 cards and there's going to be terrain types on there. There's only 4 types of terrain. There's desert, forest, mountain, and water. So you flip over 2, let's say it's mountain, desert. On your map, you have to connect 2 hexes that are those 2 land tiles. You just draw a line from one to the other, and that's all you do. Now there's symbols on the map and there's ports around the edges, and you're basically trying to connect ports that are the same. They are like labeled letters like A to A, B to B, etc. But also those symbols that are scattered around the map, you want to get those attached to those ports. That's how you get a lot of the points. If you get like 2 or 3 of them, you even get to add some bonus roads to one of your other existing lines. And it's kind of freeform because you don't have to always attach something to something that's previously attached, which is kind of the rule in a lot of those types of games. You can draw the lines wherever you want, as long as they match the 2 terrain types that are on the symbol, on the cards rather. And setup is a little bit different because each player is going to start labeling those ports, A, B, C, etc., at a different spot on their own personal map. So you're not going to get a whole lot of identical boards at the end of the game, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, rolling rates are a great call because you can, like, even if you have a night where you have 2 groups playing, they can all come together to play a roll and write at the end. It's a good way to get everybody, and people can kind of filter out or whatever as they need to, and you can keep playing. Good call. Awesome, everybody. Well, that's our top 3 chill out games, cool down at the end of the night. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying your Dice Tower Summer Spectacular. I am the Brandt.
I'm Ambie.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm going to go have a glass of lemonade and lay in my hammock. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.